Mike, what did you learn today? What was the surprise for you today?
There's 400 mayors here from around the world, and they all understand that we have a problem with pollution, and they're all determined to do something about it. And they all said that their constituents want them, demand that they solve this problem. That's why they're here. And the one that deserves a lot of credit for bringing them here is Ban Ki-moon, the head of the United Nations, the Secretary General, who said, look, cities are where the people are, cities are where the pollution is, cities are where the solutions are, and he wanted us to push the national governments. But remember, when the national governments do something, pass a law or vote some monies, it's at the cities where the execution is. So it's the mayors that are delivering the services and being held responsible.
Within that is the engineering you studied at Johns Hopkins, which is the idea of measure and disclose. Congress doesn't do that, but cities are responsible to do that, like Robert Redford's project.
Mark Carney, the head of the Bank of England, he's a Canadian that has a job as the head of the Bank of England, has created on behalf of the G20 an organization which I'm lucky enough to head that is going to try to collect data on who is doing the polluting on a comparable basis and make it disclosable. And once that happens, businesses are going to have to clean up their act because their stockholders can say, we don't want to run any risks. You stop this pollution or we're going to value your company less than the others. They can turn to governments and say, look, this other city or this other country, people are living longer than us, and here's why. I want you to fix this. And if you have the data on a comparable disclosed basis, that's enough, I think, to get people to act.
There were the pristine shots in the way we were of a Los Angeles that didn't exist. You were in Santa Monica as a kid, and you couldn't see the San Gabriel Mountains. You couldn't see them.
Well, I could when I was a kid.
Where was the will that was captured in Los Angeles? How do we get that will to happen in Washington, to happen in the cities and other nations around the world?
That's why I'm here. I'm in support of mayors, because I think mayors are closer to the ground and closer to the people. And because of that, that's why I've put my commitment mostly towards mayors, Mayor Bloomberg, and mayors across the country, because I think they can be part of the solution. I think they can move things quicker because things are too politicized in Washington, and Congress is too politicized. And therefore, things are stuck. And it's not going to happen there. So it can happen from the ground up, and that's what the mayor is.
You were way out front on the environment. You were doing the environment when it wasn't popular. I don't know if it was Jeremiah Jones or the other early movies where this clicked in with you. But what has changed now? It's upon us now. Climate change, global warming seems to be upon us now when you had the courage to start it 30 years ago.
Well, I did it because it was a personal thing for me, in that I grew up in Los Angeles, which when I was a kid at the end of the Second World War, it was a beautiful city. And without going into details about why it ceased being a beautiful city, it had to do with development that was out of control and nobody concerned about the issue of pollution. And so I saw it, I experienced it. I experienced smog, I experienced bad air, I experienced traffic overload and so forth. When I was little, it wasn't there. So it became kind of a personal thing. So I went into the Sierras and I went into Yosemite National Park because the role that nature gave me an opportunity that I wasn't aware of. Mm-hmm. Once I discovered the value of nature, and the fact is if you leave nature alone, there's something quite good about it. So that's why I became involved.
Mike, there's not much nature in New York City. I guess we could call Central Park or the other parks. But the idea, the shock and awe in the New York Times article the other day about how much coal burning there is in China. That was a stunning upgrade in their pollution.
That's true, but it's also true that China is the leader in producing wind power and solar power. It has been using less coal per capita per economic development than before, and I think that China will be the most pro-environmental country in the next 5 years.
You say they'll get beyond coal.
They're going to go way beyond coal. Why? In the big cities, you can't see across the streets. The public says, I don't want to breathe that air. I don't want water that might give me stomach cancer. I don't want all of these things that are going to shorten my life and make my health worse. And governments have to respond. China has done an amazing thing. They brought 150 million people into the middle class, and those people are saying, wait a second, I want things that middle class people have elsewhere, particularly my health. And the government is responding. In Beijing, they've already put a smoking ban in. The Chinese government owns the cigarette companies, and they just put a smoking ban in. This is like Philip Morris that doesn't allow you to smoke in their offices. That really is true. At China, they closed 4 coal-fired power plants in Beijing. They're going to have to do this all across the country. It is not going to be easy, but they have a government that understands if they don't do something, they've got a problem that's not going to let them survive.